are Starbucks employees benefiting from this new tax law?
Well, we had approximately a $500 million benefit as a result of the tax cut. I personally did not believe that America needed a 21% corporate tax cut. But as a result of that, we gave a significant part of that tax benefit back to our people on top of what we had already done over the last couple of years.
All right, that was Star Wars. Star Wars. It's been one of those days, folks. I apologize. So mesmerized by that Fed hearing. Anyway, Starbucks. Legendary founder Howard Schultz. He was not a big fan of the president, but he certainly is applauding the tax cuts because they've certainly benefited his company, lots of other companies. You know the drill, and you've heard that drill. In fact, Jerome Powell himself, the Federal Reserve Chairman, indicating today it has been the wind at this economy and markets back. Charlie Gasparino, market watcher Scott Martin. Scott, all these companies are saying, you know, whatever we think of the president, this is helping. Warren Buffett added $29 billion to the whole bottom line for Berkshire Hathaway, scores of others.
We suddenly like the money. And it's almost like Silicon Valley, which is where is typically more of the left-leaning companies, left-leaning CEOs are going to the dark side, maybe, right? And saying, hey,
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, like that. We couldn't
Thank
take that
you
one
with the
through
Star
the whole
Wars
segment
mistake
if we
I
could.
made.
Yeah,
There
we
we
thought
go.
we let that one about 10 seconds ago. But here's the funny thing, Neil. I mean, Tim Cook, remember some weeks ago said $350 billion that was coming back to the U.S. for investment was as a result of the tax cuts.
Right.
So, hey, it wasn't the popular thing at the time as we were leading up to this passage of this great bill was to say, hey, we're excited about this.
Right.
But it's proving positive in the earnings reports and in these comments from Charles Schultz and the rest as far as Howard Schultz, rather. So I blew that.
Sure.
That was peanuts.
That's fine.
With the rest about saying how much better it's going to be for the workers and for the companies.
What do you think?
Call me Sith Lord, by the way.
Oh, I call you all that works.
Listen, I don't think we really know if this thing is going to produce what it's purported to produce. Listen, I'm all for a 21% corporate tax cut. The devil is going to be in the GDP details. And I'll tell you this. There's two ways of looking at this. Do we get a lot of stock buybacks? Because as much as they're handing checks out, like, you know, willy-nilly to these workers, that's peanuts compared to the amount of stock buybacks they're going to do. And Berkshire Hathaway, one of the reasons why the market was up, whatever it was yesterday, 300 points, is because Berkshire Hathaway announced a major stock buyback. That's what they're
And also over the weekend in his letter, I mean, he didn't have enough great things to say.
Right, and he likes low corporate taxes. Here's where the rubber meets the road, and I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but next year when we see consecutive 3% GDP growth, 3+, that actually pays for the deficit that these tax cuts are going to create. Now, if we get that, you can make the case that interest rates shouldn't spike, right? And I think that will go a long way because you don't have to add more to the debt. You don't have to sell more Treasury bonds.
But wouldn't interest rates go up just on the basis of an improving economy?
I'm talking spike. I'm talking about way up. And then that's where...
Do you see that? I don't see that.
I don't see that, but I think Charlie's right. I mean, then if you don't get that growth, you don't pay for the tax cuts, you get a massive pile of debt, and you've got problems with respect to the financing of the debt anyway.
I know I sound like a broken record. There's paying by the tax on the $1.5 trillion over 10 years and all, and everyone ignores the $8.5 to $9 trillion in extra spending or paying for that. But leaving that out, all I'm saying is, wouldn't you worry about the backup in rates that could come? And when they let the poor Federal Reserve Chairman speak today, that was one of the issues that I was interested in.
That he's unwinding the balance sheet.
Well, I'm not even talking the balance sheet. I'm getting back to an economic pickup is going to lead. That's one of the things that leads Ira. Do you think that will offset then whatever gains are getting?
That's what I'm saying. If we can get the 3% growth, we spent a lot of money, let's face this last budget, and you made the point, trillions of dollars added to the deficit. If you get the growth,
but we're only concerned about paying for the tax cuts. I know you're not, but I know what you're saying. But that's what everyone gets back to.
But if the tax cuts cause the growth that the budget that can pay down the deficit, I mean, that's what Mulvaney always says. Mick Mulvaney, the budget director, makes a really compelling case. He says, listen, in order to pay down the deficit, you've got to get 3% growth. Plus.
And if the growth comes, the S&P 500 goes higher, above 3,000, let's say, right? So you have 401ks that get the boost. You have
productivity goes up.
That's right.
But
productivity,
so many firms, you know, J.P. Morgan now saying that higher rates themselves could fuel a $7 billion profit boost to them on top of the boost
they're not talking about the type of rates that I'm worried about.
I understand, and that's a legitimate worry. But obviously, if they let the poor Fed chairman speak today, what he seemed to be hinting is, I see net good here. Do you guys see net good from these tax cuts, from the economic activity that's happened because it's picked up steam? He sees it picking up steam. He wasn't attributing to one development, but he was telling it's a worldwide phenomenon.
I do.
Do you agree with that?
But here's the thing. The last couple of weeks are a telltale sign, because look what's happened in the S&P 500 when rates have started to tick up as the 10 years approaching 3%. You know, mortgage rates, 30-year mortgage is about 4.5% now. I know they give you a lower rate, Charlie, just because it's you.
Yeah,
but the reality is, Neil, as rates have gone up, the market has had a little bit of an adjustment period. It started to kind of come in a bit. So that's the thing I'd watch out for. Is I think you're right. Rates will definitely be capped. They're not going to go crazy. But as rates continue to kind of bubble up.
What happens at 3%? 10-year gets to 3%. I know I ask people.
Yeah.
I agree, but I think, is it just that moment?
Well,
you know,
markets will react and adjust to that. And I think that's what you're seeing now. The real question is, if you get below me, and I'm 90% in Europe, that concerns me, is that everybody's taking down their estimates on GDP growth. And if you don't get that 3% GDP growth, you're not going to be able to pay for the budget that we have right now. It's impossible.
You see what the Atlanta Fed did? They were calling for 5%, and then like somebody sharpens a pencil over there, or they trade the crayons in for pens.
I couldn't believe
and it got
that.
down to like 3 and change.
It's down like to half.
That's a World Bank move, by the way.
Now that scares me, because the Atlanta Fed is always over-optimistic.
And now they're coming down, and so what is it going to be? 2
Maybe there's middle ground on this, but it's got to be over 3. It's got to be over, and consistently over 3.
Absolutely.
Right.
Pay for this,
guys. Thank you both very much. The Dow down 9.